You know that feeling when you find an offer that is just too good to be true, but you take it anyway because you are desperate. That was me 3 months ago. I was drowning in student debt, living off stale instant noodles, and sleeping on a mattress on the floor. So when I found the ad, I didn't ask questions. It was a house-sitting gig at the Blackwood Estate. The pay was astronomical, $5,000. For a single week, all I had to do was watch an old Victorian mansion, while the owner, a Mr. Sterling, was away on business. It sounded perfect. It sounded like a lifesaver. But looking back now, I would rather be broke. I would rather be starving than go back to that house. The place was magnificent, a Gothic sprawl of dark oak and velvet drapes, located miles away from the nearest town, buried deep within a dense pine forest, a forest that seemed to swallow the sound of the wind. When I arrived, Mr. Sterling was already gone. The only thing left for me was a heavy iron key and a strange, typed list of rules sitting on the kitchen counter. I remember laughing when I first read them. I thought it was a joke, a rich guy's way of messing with the help. But I am not laughing now. Rule number 1, keep the front door locked at all times, no matter who you hear knocking. Rule number 2, do not enter the library between midnight and 3 a.m. Rule number 3, if the grandfather clock in the hallway stops ticking, wind it immediately. Do not wait more than 60 seconds. Rule number 4, there is no dog on the property. If you hear barking, hide in the master bedroom closet and count to 100. And the final rule, number 5, do not look at the mirrors in the hallway after dark, because your reflection might not be doing what you are doing. I brushed it off. I explored the house, feeling like a king in a castle, admiring the oil paintings and the dusty chandeliers. The house was old, settling with groans and creaks that echoed through the empty halls. But it felt peaceful, at least, until the sun went down. Nightfall changed everything. It wasn't a gradual shift. It was instantaneous, as if the house itself had held its breath. The moment the light vanished, I was sitting in the living room, scrolling through my phone, trying to distract myself, when I heard it, a soft, rhythmic knocking at the heavy oak front door. I froze. My thumb hovered over the screen. Rule number 1 flashed in my mind. 3 slow knocks. Pause. Then 3 more. I walked to the peephole, heart pounding against my ribs, expecting a delivery driver or maybe a lost hiker. But when I looked out, the porch was empty. The motion sensor light was on, illuminating the long driveway, and there was absolutely no one there. I stepped back, trying to tell myself it was the wind. Then the knocking started again, louder this time, demanding, angry, but it wasn't coming from the outside anymore. It sounded like it was coming from the inside of the door. as if someone was standing on the porch, knocking in. I backed away, retreating to the kitchen, my hands shaking. As I checked the list again, just stay inside, I told myself, just follow the rules. Then, the silence of the house was shattered. The grandfather clock. It had been ticking steadily all day, a comforting metronome. But suddenly, it stopped. The silence that followed was heavy, oppressive, like the air pressure had dropped. My ears popped. I remembered rule number 3. Wind it immediately. I sprinted into the hallway. The beam of my flashlight bounced off the walls. The clock stood like a coffin in the shadows, tall and imposing. I fumbled with the key, my fingers slippery with sweat. I could feel eyes on me, not from a specific direction, but from everywhere. A prickling sensation on the back of my neck that screamed predator. I managed to wind it. The gears caught with a loud clack, and the ticking resumed. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I leaned against the wall, trying to calm my racing heart. That's when I made the mistake. I looked up. Directly across from the clock was one of the large mirrors, mentioned in rule number 5. I knew I shouldn't look. It was instinct. In the dim light, I saw my own reflection, pale, terrified, wearing my blue hoodie. But then, my reflection smiled. I wasn't smiling. My reflection's smile widened, stretching too far, splitting the face, revealing too many teeth, rows and rows of sharp, needle-like teeth. Then the reflection raised a finger to its lips. In a shush motion, I didn't scream. I couldn't. My voice was trapped in my throat. I scrambled backward, tripping over my own feet, and ran up the stairs. I locked myself in the master bedroom. I huddled under the covers like a child, listening to the house. That's when the barking started. It didn't sound like a dog, not a normal dog. It sounded like a massive, angry hound, snarling and scratching. But it wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from the hallway, right outside the bedroom door. The scratching sound against the wood was wet and heavy, like bone dragging on timber. Rule number 4. There is no dog. Hide in the closet. I dove into the walk-in closet, burying myself behind a row of heavy winter coats. They smelled of mothballs and old cologne. I started counting. 1, 2, 3. The bedroom door creaked open. I stopped breathing. 4, 5, 6. The sound of heavy paws hitting the floorboards. Thump, thump, thump. But the rhythm was wrong. It wasn't a four-legged animal. It sounded like a bipedal thing, moving on hands and feet, disjointed and erratic. I heard a wet sniffing sound, deep, guttural inhalations, right outside the closet slats. 7, 8, 9. A voice, raspy and dry, whispered from the room. I know you were in there. Little mouse. It wasn't a dog. It was never a dog. I squeezed my eyes shut. Tears leaked out. Hot and stinging, I continued counting in my head, praying that the rules were absolute laws and not just suggestions. 30, 31, 32. The closet handle jiggled violently up and down, rattling the frame. The thing on the other side let out a frustrated growl. It vibrated in my chest. I kept counting, louder in my mind, drowning out the sound of the handle, threatening to snap. 98, 99, 100. Silence. Absolute, ringing silence. I stayed in that closet for hours, until sunlight bled through the cracks of the door. When I finally emerged, the house was normal again. The grandfather clock was ticking. The mirror showed only my terrified, exhausted face. I packed my bag in 3 minutes flat. I waited on the porch for Mr. Sterling, shaking in the morning sun, when his black sedan finally pulled up the driveway. He looked at me with a mixture of surprise and disappointment. He handed me the check without a word. But as I was walking to my car, he spoke. "Did you feed the dog?" I froze. My hand gripped the car door handle. I turned back slowly. "The list," I stammered. "The list said there was no dog." Mr. Sterling smiled. And it was the exact same smile I had seen in the mirror. Too wide. Too many teeth. "Oh," he chuckled. A dry, raspy sound. That must have been the old list. "We got a puppy last week. He gets very hungry. When he is ignored." I didn't answer. I got in my car and drove. I watched the rearview mirror until the house disappeared. But here's the thing that keeps me awake at night. I moved to a new apartment, 3 cities away. I live on the 4th floor. I don't have a dog. But last night, just as I was drifting off to sleep, I heard it. A scratching at my front door, and the slow, wet sound of heavy breathing. And then, a slide of paper was pushed under my door. I haven't picked it up yet, but I can see the first line. Written in red ink. Rule number 1. Don't let it in.